gentlemen, we are ready to begin boarding for our flight to Las Vegas. At this time, we would like to invite passengers requiring wheelchair assistance, families with small children, and those in Group 1 to come forward. Flight 255 to Las Vegas.
Attention passengers. Group
Members
3
of our
Frontier
air
425,
are also
departing for New York from Los Angeles, may now begin boarding in
American
Group 3.
Airlines.
Please have your boarding passes ready. Thank you.
Attention passengers, this is the final call for United Airlines Flight 371, departing from New York LaGuardia to Charlotte. Please proceed to the gate immediately, as it will be closing shortly. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is your Captain Nellie Hawkins speaking. I would like to welcome you aboard JetBlue Flight 658. We are currently preparing for departure from Washington, D.C., heading towards Boston.
Our flight today will be cruising at an altitude of 37,000 feet. We're anticipating a smooth journey and expect to arrive in Miami on schedule at 3:36 p.m. local time.
Welcome aboard Southwest Airlines, flight number 451, the only airline that has mastered the art of serving peanuts at 30,000 feet.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to London Gatwick. We have just landed safely and the local time is 3:53 p.m. For those visiting, London offers a plethora of attractions. From the architectural marvel that is the London Eye, to the historical grandeur of the Tower of London.
Hey everyone, it's Brian with FlightDash.io. Since our last promotional video, we've been getting a lot of interest in the new AI cabin crew announcements feature, so I wanted to create a video to review this feature more in depth. This feature has actually been available since the end of December of last year, but has recently got a lot of new updates. So in this video, I want to share a few samples of announcements, take a closer look at how they work, go over the cost involved, go through the steps for getting started, and even provide some details on how you can become a selected beta tester. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so first, what is different about this? There are plenty of other add-ons that give me airline-specific cabin crew announcements. What makes this so special? These are great questions. Our cabin crew announcements are not pre-recorded. Every announcement you get will be new and unique. We take information from your flight plan details like SimBrief and run them through OpenAI's GPT-4 model, which we instruct to generate a script for the announcement. That script is then sent through OpenAI's TTS, or text-to-speech model, which generates a realistic sounding readback of the script. Finally, when it arrives back to FlightDash.io for playback, we add some audio processing to make it sound like the voice is coming through from inside of a terminal or inside the cabin itself. The announcement will include specific information about your flight, including the airline, departure and arrival information, time information, live weather details, your cruise altitude, and even current event, holiday, and tourist locations mentioned at the arrival location. You can even customize your cabin crew's names and personalities, so a bunch of ways you can customize, and we'll get into that more in a little bit, but first let's run through an example.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is your Captain Nellie Hawkins speaking. I would like to welcome you aboard JetBlue Flight 658. We are currently preparing for departure from Washington, D.C., heading towards Boston. Assisting me in the cockpit today is First Officer Henry Finley. We have an excellent team of flight attendants on board with us today. Alice, Ella, Laura, and Arthur will ensure your flight is comfortable and safe. They will be conducting the safety briefing shortly, and I urge you to pay close attention to it. We are going to be cruising at a flight level of 37,000 feet. Our estimated flight time is approximately 2 hours. We expect a smooth flight today and plan to arrive in Boston at approximately 12:32 p.m. local time. Upon our arrival, the weather in Boston is expected to be clear, with a temperature of approximately 24.8 degrees Fahrenheit, or -4 degrees Celsius for those of you used to metric measurements. Please ensure your seatbelts are fastened, your tray tables are stowed, and all electronic devices are in airplane mode. We remind you that this is a non-smoking flight. Thank you for choosing JetBlue.
Pretty cool, right? So let's now take a minute to talk about cost. In the past few weeks, you've probably heard of some other big AI tools coming out, and the costs may have been surprising. Well, this is similar in some ways, but also different in other ways. Flightdash.io is completely free, an open source tool, but the scripted voice generation provided by OpenAI is not. They charge to use their service. So how is Flightdash.io different than these other tools? Well, at this time, we are not charging anything directly to Flightdash.io. In fact, we don't even require you to make a Flightdash.io account. You supply your own OpenAI API key, and costs incurred will go directly to your OpenAI account. So what will I be charged? So we do advise reading our full OpenAI policy that will get into more detail, and that can be found on our website. Essentially, you're going to be charged based on the number of tokens used for the script generation and for the text-to-speech audio provided. This can vary greatly based on the amount and type of announcement used, but on average, we typically see in a full flight using the announcements all once, an average about 50 cents in USD per flight. And also keep in mind, you have the ability to set limits in your OpenAI account as well. So if you don't want to spend more than $10 a month, you can set that. This will mean the announcements will just stop working once you've reached your monthly limit. Okay, so now let's take a look on how to actually use the announcements. The first thing you're going to want to do is navigate to flightdash.io and obviously open up the app. I'm going to go ahead and open that up on screen here. And I actually already have this open to the announcements page with some things set up. The other thing to mention is that I kind of have a view right now for this video as on an actual tablet. Right now this is not an in-game type of add-on, but we are working on something currently. So in the near future there will be an in-game panel that'll look very similar to what you see here. But in the meantime, this can be opened up on any laptop, tablet, whatever you want to use as an external device or on a different monitor, you can open up flightdash.io. So the first thing we're going to need to do once we have that opened is navigate to the settings in the top right hand corner. And here you will probably see more of a blank slate, but what you're going to want to make sure you have is a SimBrief pilot ID, which you want to navigate to SimBrief and find your pilot ID. It should be in your account settings. And then also an OpenAI API key. And this can be generated at openai.com. So you'd want to sign up for their API account, set up an API key, set up a payment method, and then also set any limits. And we have instructions on all of these steps I just mentioned on our knowledge base at flightdash.io. So definitely take a look at those specific instructions. Once you have all of that, you want to copy in your SimBrief pilot ID and then also your OpenAI API key here, and then save and close. For future use, so you can also export a config file so that you can easily load it in next time, so you don't need to always be copying and pasting your code. We also have instructions more on the config files in our knowledge base. So I'm going to go ahead and save and close. The next thing I need to do before I can jump in, I'm actually going to reset this here so it'll look more like when you jump in the first time. So the announcements are on the left-hand column, this little loudspeaker icon. We're actually not going to click that right away. We first need to set up a few more things. So first, let's jump into our flight plan. Now, I've already loaded in a SimBrief flight plan for this demonstration. You'd obviously want to go ahead and create one if you haven't already. You actually don't necessarily have to have a SimBrief flight plan, but you will have to manually add in some more data, which I'll show in just a moment. But we're going to use SimBrief, so I've loaded one in just by clicking this button here, my latest flight plan. We can see the full OFP here. And next we're going to navigate to the flight data tab here. Now this information should mostly all pre-fill from your SimBrief flight plan, which is really nice. If you're not using SimBrief, then you're going to need to manually enter in this information for the announcements to work. Really, the announcements use this information. It's what we feed to OpenAI to generate your announcements. So things like the aircraft, this picked up that it was actually a Phoenix A320. If you want it to mention that in your announcements, cool. If not, you can edit it just here to A320. Your call sign came in, your departure and arrival locations, and all of your times for boarding, departure, arrival, gate arrival, and whatnot. Even the amount of passengers. And then the last thing to mention here is the airline name does not get pre-filled, and this we kind of leave this one more open just in case people also want to use custom airline names. So just make sure that you have an airline name entered here. Right now I'm just doing, we're actually Delta, so I'm going to update this. And also you need to click this generate flight crew button at least once. And you can actually click it as many times as you want, and you can see here that these are randomizing. So, you know, start however you want, and then you can actually come in and customize people's names here. So this is important because only certain crew members will be making the announcements. So for example, the captain's announcements, you can set their OpenAI voice, which we have a few different options here, and we do provide a direct link to OpenAI's site if you want to sample what each of the voices sounds like. And then you can also set their personality. So right now the default is professional, but if you want to give them a little bit of a comedic personality, you can add them to be comedian. And if you want their announcements to be maybe a little bit shorter, really no extra stuff, just, you know, short and to the point, introvert's a good selection for that. So we're just going to leave this as default here. And then we're going to go ahead and jump into our announcements tab. So since this is an open beta, we do have some checkboxes that you need to check here. And this is really just kind of making sure that, one, you agree to our OpenAI usage policy, which again, this is, you know, it's nothing is charged directly to flight-io. So you need to understand that any payments or anything like that, any issues would have to be handled with OpenAI directly. It's in open beta. There could be some wonky things happening. It is still in testing. So just kind of the agreements here that you know, agree with that kind of stuff. And then also some checks here just to make sure that you've added that OpenAI API key in the configuration settings. If you don't, you're going to get errors. And also that you've ensured that that flight data and flight crew is generated in the flight data section, which we just did. So once you acknowledge all of that, the announcements are going to open up. So you'll see here we have some buttons, so we can just go ahead. I'm just going to actually start a pre-boarding announcement right now, and we'll hear what it sounds like. And you will notice here too, it takes a little bit of time to load. The information needs to go to OpenAI, generate, record the playback, and then send it back to us. So it's not quite instantaneous.
Attention passengers for Delta Airlines Flight 198 from Los Angeles to Dallas. This is your gate attendant, Elizabeth. We would like to inform you that your flight is on schedule and we will begin boarding at 11 a.m. local time. This is approximately 20 minutes from now. Please have your boarding pass and identification ready for boarding. We kindly ask you to check your seat number before boarding to expedite the process. Passengers with priority boarding and those who require assistance or additional boarding time are invited to board first. Thank you for choosing Delta Airlines. We look forward to ensuring you have a smooth and enjoyable flight.
All right, there you have it. So there's the pre-boarding announcement. I mentioned things like our airline, where the flight's going, times, things like that. So all very cool. And you can do that for any of the announcements here. So this is a very manual way to trigger them while you're flying, so you can trigger them at any point you'd like. Now, for, the AI crew announcements, we have a enable announcement autopilot feature here. Now, this is if you're on VATSIM. We won't get into too much detail here, but flight-io can also link up with flight data from VATSIM. So if you are flying on the VATSIM network, you can kind of automate some of these announcements. So for example, if I wanted them to start doing the landing announcement as soon as my status changes to landed on the VATTrack map, which is part of our VATSIM integration, you can set that. That way, you know, when I have a bunch of things going on and I don't really remember to come in here and trigger landing, it can just automatically happen. And we can do that for some of the other ones as well if you wanted to automatically trigger the boarding announcements at the times that they're supposed to. Maybe safety, once we start taxiing, it'll just automatically play, so you have some options there. All right, so last topic to discuss. If you're interested in becoming a selected beta tester, we are accepting a few more applications. So being a selected beta tester means that you get a free OpenAI API key for a limited time, allowing you to try this out in return for your feedback in our beta testing forum. And also if you do any streaming or videos yourself where you want to kind of demonstrate your use of the product, we'd appreciate that as well. So if you're interested, just check out the link that I'm going to leave in the description where you can fill out the application. And yeah, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. We're definitely looking to add a few more. So that's going to be it for the video today. Thanks everyone for watching.